Complete. Rick Mears has nearly half a lap lead on the second place car of Roberto Guerrero, followed by Al Unser Jr., Mario Andretti, and Scott Brayton. Bobby Rahal was in the pits for over 2 minutes, and of course Emerson Fittipaldi had his long stop of 3 minutes and 19 seconds. But now another surprise: Danny Sullivan appears to be out of the race. Jack Arute?
Paul, he's just taking off his gear right now, and Danny, it's not a long day for you. A red light of sorts went on.
Yes, unfortunately, we had this problem late yesterday where the oil light came on and we couldn't find anything wrong. Looks like a collapsed oil filter yesterday, so we changed that, thought the engine was okay, and the light came on again and the engine started to seize up on me coming out of two. So
a torrid pace by your teammate Rick Mears. Can he sustain it all day?
I think so. Yeah, it seems like we've had the problems all week, and he hasn't, so our fingers are crossed. He's been running awful good, and I think if he doesn't have any mechanical problems, nobody will touch him.
Well, that seems the way it always is with the Penske team. One fellow has bad luck, the other fellow has good. Back to you.
You know, Jack Arute, that is a fascinating point. As we watch, there's the leader, Rick Mears. He touched with Randy Lewis and spins. Let's see if he keeps the engine going, if he can keep the car going. I don't think so.
The car's damaged, Paul. Look at the left rear tire. It's gone flat. That was heavy contact.
How sad. Our first yellow flag of the day comes on the 22nd lap, and it involves Rick Mears. Danny Sullivan just said there was no way you were going to catch him. Well, that's one way.
And that was at a time, you see Roger Penske there, where Rick Mears was averaging more than 2.5 miles an hour faster laps than the second place driver, Roberto Guerrero. That was his domination, and of course it's over.
A disappointed man, Roger Penske, was hoping for his 50th IndyCar win with Rick Mears here today. Rick stays in the car on the main stretch, and we're under yellow.
Oh, that appeared like that wasn't Rick's fault. That was very, being a victim of circumstances. He was passing Randy Lewis on the outside, and Randy clipped him.
Roger Penske in radio contract with his driver now.
Roger, you were talking to Rick on the radio after he crashed. What did he say?
Well, he just said the guy was in the middle of the straightaway and thought he saw him, and evidently didn't. He said, you know, he made a mistake. I guess he thought the fellow had seen him, and you know, it's one of those things, unfortunate, but we're running good, which is the main thing.
Absolutely. Now that leads me into Long Beach. You know, this is a tough one, a bitter pill to swallow, but you don't have to keep it down for too long. You've only got a week before you can prove it again.
Well, I think that the road course will be something different. We'll see how the car runs there. Obviously, it was competitive here on the ovals. It's one of those things on a tight 1-mile track. The traffic is the toughest thing that we can do, but we'll see what happens.
We talk about how quick things can happen at Phoenix. There were 2, then there was 1, and now there are none from the Penske team on the racetrack.
What a great disappointment for the Penske team as we take a look at Rick Mears still sitting in the car. The bright yellow machine, that's Rick. As he moves up, they tell all the drivers, keep an eye on your mirrors, keep out of the way, and it looked like Randy Lewis just kept coming up.
Yes, but Randy Lewis was still coming out of the turn when that happened, and Rick, he would have had to look back right at that moment. Bobby, don't you agree that's a tough moment to have to look back in your mirror?
He was, Rick was more than halfway up on Randy, Sam. Randy should have seen him and should have given him racing room. He already knew that he was being lapped. I just don't see that there was much of an excuse for that.
Rick did a remarkable job keeping the car away from that wall as he spun around on the main stretch. We have another opportunity to take a look at this situation. There was an interesting conversation that I was part of yesterday as we take a look at Scott Brayton, who is the leader on the track at the moment. Most of the leaders have gone in and made their pit stops, and this will lead us to a conversation of tactics in just a moment. But let's take a look again at this. Bobby?
Now you can see Randy coming out. Rick has to come back because of the wall. He has to have that line. Randy is still going out to the wall. The cars are locked up right there. I don't really believe it hurt Rick's car much. It just was a simple matter. There wasn't enough racing room for it.
All right, now that conversation that I was part of yesterday was Michael and John Andretti and Billy Vukovich III. They were both asking Michael, what do you do if you're running slow here? And he said, come off the corner in the middle, go right down the middle of the track, even if you see the move-over flag, because the leaders will split you on either side. Just give you a car length to the wall and make sure there's plenty of room to the inside.
Back into turn again.
Emerson Fittipaldi not a factor in this race. Let's go down to the pits once again. Jerry Gaffins is with Rick Mears.
Rick's returned to his Penske pit. Rick, what happened exactly on that incident?
Well, basically, I came up behind Foyt, and I believe it was Randy Lewis, and Foyt was going around Randy Lewis, and I believe it was Randy Lewis, a 24 car. And so I was just following Foyt. I was taking it easy. The Pennzoil car was just working excellent, you know. And gave him plenty of room. Foyt went by him, so I went by him. And when I got to a point that I could no longer see the front of his car beside me, I knew we had him, you know, we were past him. And then right after that, he hits me. I don't know why. I don't know what the deal was. It just, we were already by him. If he couldn't see me, he shouldn't be on the racetrack.
No chance to correct whatsoever then?
No. Once it bump you like that and knocks you sideways, you're just along for the ride. And we talked about that in the drivers' meeting. Everybody being very careful because this track is tough for that. You know, obviously, I should not have passed him in that particular spot.
Okay, Rick Mears would like to have that lap back over, Paul Page.
Well, you seldom hear Rick Mears quite that outspoken. Obviously, he thought he had this race bought and paid for. He was running very well.
And there is Randy Lewis briefly in our shot. He did not pay any consequences for what happened there. And that is so often the case, isn't it, Paul?
Well, he did pay in terms of a rather long pit stop. He's still in the action. But no, that's exactly right. The guy who is in front and will cause the problem often is the one with the least damage, if any at all, and he just goes merrily about his way while taking a leader out of the race.